Gotta get away. What's he gonna do?
Nice shot, Chris.
He's gotta get away.
Hey, hi, welcome to Blah Blah Blah. The
Hello.
show where we show you everything and more.
Oh yeah, baby.
Now we talk about topics today, as you well know, because you watch the show every week religiously.
You better did.
Or politically. But anyway, I'd like to introduce the cast of Blah Blah Blah. I am Jorge Bernardo, and I am the host. And on my left, I have Mr. Robert Isley.
Yes, hello everybody.
And then we have Mr. Jack Albert.
Dressed in green.
I'm Chris Bartos. How are you today?
And then we have Chris. Thanks, Chris. We have a special show for you today. We are doing a show that is devoted to communication. And so let's go ahead and introduce the topics for today. We're going to be talking about Dude, You Stink, or the diplomacy of constructive criticism. We're also going to be talking about, did I tell you what Otis said about Martha, or the all-important talking behind people's backs? We're going to get the inner-city perspective of that topic from Mr. Anthony Satterthwaite in our regular segment called Let's Ask Anthony. And then we're going to have the fifth Beatle do a song for us, the mysterious fifth Beatle. And finally, our last topic is kind of a strange topic. It's You Say I Suck, Therefore I Do, or the dynamics of human interaction. So why don't we go ahead and get started with the first one. And you know what? Say what you will, but no one really likes criticism. I mean, even if it's meant to be helpful, I think that one of the great tragedies in life is that constructive criticism is so often easy to think of. Notice I didn't say give. And yet so difficult to receive because of our personal our sensitivities. And yet sometimes the person really needs to hear it. So the question is, at what point do you say to yourself, I know this person may not like this, but I'm going to tell them anyway? Jack?
Boy, you put it on me, didn't you? It's tough. And it's just as tough to actually deliver constructive criticism. I try to keep, if it's something really easily changed and not personal, like your collar needs straightening, that's the easy stuff. I don't like your eye color, or I don't like the shape of your face. That's not constructive criticism, that's just being mean. And there's everything in between.
How about you, Rob? When do you decide it's best to just go ahead and say something to somebody?
I guess when it is fixable and the collar, you know, I get told that every morning and when I come into work. So, you know, I like to start off with something that they can criticize me, something easy that's fixable, because then we move on to the non-fixable things.
What's the point in criticizing if it's not fixable? I mean, constructively.
I don't know. Well, that's the whole. The constructive is an interesting word because I think the constructive is interpreted. The person giving it always thinks it's constructive. The person getting it might not see the same fix. If it's not the collar fix, if it's something a little more difficult. You should just something.
I have a good example. I was going out with a woman at one point, and I was sort of, it's like I was stretching my leg, and I was admiring the kind of good shape I had gotten into at that point, and with weightlifting and running.
Right.
And she's there, and she goes, you know, Jack, you may want to think about working out.
Oh boy.
And she may have considered that constructive, but I was already working out.
Wow, that was pretty bad.
So I
timing.
turned to her and I said, do me a favor, in the future, don't tell me anything about myself that I can't fix. Deal?
What about when somebody asks you for constructive criticism? How does that change your perspective?
It doesn't.
Like, how does the woman, the girlfriend says, how does my hair look?
It's
Yeah.
you're talking constructive.
just
You're
frizzed
talking
out.
constructive. There's constructive and then there's destructive criticism. No matter how you look at it, you want to call it constructive. It's destructive because the person's always going to take offense to it.
Exactly.
They're always going to get PO'd.
You don't
at
really
you.
offend someone?
and they're never going to take it lightly, and they will automatically start blasting you for something. Please, what do you say?
Upset, to get someone upset, say, you are 99% perfect. And they're like, tell me what that 1% is. You know, and they can't,
Right.
and they're dogging you forever, and they're like depressed, and they start taking, sedatives, and it's horrible.
How about playing in a band? I'm sure you guys occasionally hear some constructive criticism from your audience or from your friends.
We go through
How
that.
do you process that?
Well, when we're making a recording, we have to draw the line at could that that could be a little bit better versus that's as good as it's going to be, given our limitations. And so since we're not computers and can't give that kind of perfect output, when you criticize something, again, it has to be, you have to size up the person and say, okay, I think this is like they're hitting it.
Yeah.
That's what a good producer will do. They'll
Yeah.
know that. When they used to, in the 60s, when people couldn't sing, actually, that's all today, everyone now. But when they said, look, this person can't sing, the record sounds like they can't sing, I've made the record that I wanted to make. But when you got a good performer, and we know we have to know the limitations of performance. Otherwise, it does no good to say, why didn't you just play that solo like Eddie Van Halen? Well, if that person isn't named Eddie Van Halen, it's probably not going to sound like Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
So, simple enough.
Yeah, that's sort of like, for you, that was good.
For you?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds bad.
Qualifier.
Yeah.
It's also the person that's giving you the criticism. I mean, if you guys being in a band, you guys to me sound great. But the person who would be giving you some criticism, what does he know? I mean, is he some person that sits in an alley and bangs on some trash cans? Where is the line of
Right.
justification? They're probably
That's
not.
what I call the daft rule. If the person giving you what he thinks is constructive criticism is clearly nuts, then I don't take any offense. I merely wish we had different fans. That's what I'm thinking. But I had one guy come up and say, I just read a book on elocution and pronunciation, and I couldn't understand the lyrics when you were playing, but you need to pronounce this, you need to pronounce that. I feel like saying, I can pronounce, get that out of my face.
Damn.
Last thing, real quick. What are some signs that the constructive criticism that you're trying to give nicely is not being received too well? What kind of signs can you tell from the person you're talking to?
When you need to duck.
Yeah. when the person is starting to turn red and it starts off in the neck and you slowly see it rise like a tidal wave, that redness or the sweat, the gleam in the eye.
I think when you hit when you hit that nerve and they come back at you with
yes.
something way out
Well,
of
yeah, but you
yeah.
can blah 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 blah. And,
That has kept me from saying stuff more often. Now that you mention it, it's like, I know there's a raft of things this person could say about me, and every day that passes and I don't hear that is a good day. And if I say one thing, I'm opening up the gates, and it can all come back on
you
me.
open up a big can of worms.
So if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones, all right?
Oh boy.
Keep it to yourself. I mean,
Nerf
you'll
balls.
get over it. We're gonna take a break. Come back with our next topic. But right now, we want to show you a clip from a scene from the movie we're making. It's called The Blah Beatles,
Blah.
and it's basically a tribute to all the wonderful made-for-television Beatles movies with the excellent acting and the accents and the great sets and all the money they spent on those things.
Yeah.
So we wanted to just go one step further and just show you the production value that we can do. We hope that it holds up to that high standard. And then after that, we'll be back to talk about talking behind people's backs. We'll be right back.
Back in 2 and 2.
Hey Beatles, what's the square root of 61,352?
That's not it.
Oh, yes, it is.
Would you like to use a calculator?
No, we can work it out.
What's a calculator?